big winner here is I think Chris Paul, man. Like I think Chris can finally get to play in that like 2019 Kyle Lowry role where it was like Kyle was never going to be the first option on a championship, was never going to be the second option on a championship. But if he can be on a team where he can use his smarts, bring the ball up, not turn the ball over, keep things running, play good defense, and then get the ball to your primary scorers. And KD and Devin Booker are better primary scorers than Kawhi and Pascal, who are the top two options for us in the 2019 year. You know, Chris can actually have that chance now. I mean, I get it. He was in the finals, and he was a really big part of that. But I really do feel like he can now just be the playmaker. And just watching him, just like, I don't know, he wasn't even like he had that big of an impact in the game last night. It just felt like he was very comfortable. But the job is so much more easy for him because he has just like two of the best scorers in the league to just feed the ball to.
Yeah, Chris was 1 of 8 from the field yesterday, 2 points, 11 assists. And I think over the course of the season, we've seen a bit of slippage from him in his play on the offensive end. Like moving forward, Mike, do you see, like if you're kind of diving in, looking at this Phoenix team, obviously now with championship aspirations, like are there concerns heading into the playoffs about CP, about their depth? Like what stands out to you in terms of maybe questions that they still have to answer even after adding KD?
Well, first of all, I love the Kyle Lowry comparison. And I actually had in my notes here that the Suns team, I mean, they're trying to sort of replicate what the 2019 Toronto Raptors did, where you make this trade, you plop a superstar onto a very good playoff team. Those Raptors were a little different in that they were improving upon like the prime A scorer role with going from DeMar to Kawhi. But then they also added a 3-and-D player. They add Danny Green in that transaction. So like when I look at Phoenix, you're adding KD to a nucleus that has been to the finals and has tried to knock on the door and couldn't knock it down. KD is amazing, but like the gap between Mikal Bridges and Cam Johnson and Josh Okogie, Torrey Craig, TJ Warren, I think will be significant in the playoffs. And it's hard generally to find chemistry in the middle of a season, particularly on the defensive end. And for them to win 3 playoff rounds against teams that have been together all this year and then through battles in the past few seasons together, I just think it's going to be very difficult. I disagree with people who just kind of penciling them in as the favorite or the team that's going to go to the finals from the Western Conference. I think the Western Conference has some really good competitive teams. They're going to be chomping at the bit to go up against them. And I really look forward to watching those playoff battles, but I would not say that Phoenix is just like the overwhelming favorite because they have Kevin Durant now.
Yeah, I think losing those wing defenders, like you said, with Cam and Mikal Bridges, like I think about playoff matchups that they might run into, like having to guard, a Kawhi and PG, with the Clippers, or even think about like Luka, Kyrie with the Mavs, or even the Kings, Nuggets, all these teams. Like I do wonder if that's going to be the thing that kind of gets them in the playoffs, like if they have enough.
Yeah, I mean, I think they're probably just hoping that like if they get into a close game, they can just be clutch merchants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
No, I mean like it's just. I also think that on the flip side, there's no team in the Western Conference that really has the defensive versatility to line up across the board with them. And I think that's where it's really dangerous. And, one of my favorite players of the year this year, Josh Okogie, I feel like every game I watch, Josh Okogie, he's wearing that mask. He's knocking down a whole bunch of jumpers. He's giving a huge effort on defense, which he always did, even when he was in Minnesota and stuff. And it's just like, no, he's kind of popping a little bit. Like, there's obviously a big chance here for someone to sort of break through, and he's kind of doing that for them. I do agree, though, like, they do feel kind of small across the board. That's where I think the comparison with the 2019 Raptors, like, that team had legitimate size with Marc Gasol at center and then, Serge Ibaka coming off the bench. And, of course, those guys can play together at times, that they did against Philly, which was another gigantic team. Like, yeah, I mean, you had that kind of versatility and depth on the roster. But I think the big difference between this and 2019 is Phoenix is going to be this team next year as well, and the year after that as well. Obviously, they can probably move Chris Paul, and they have a lot more options to do around that. But the fact that you have Devin Booker and Kevin Durant together in a marquee market is, man, jealous, man. If only teams could, go out and get Kevin Durant. We could have different conversations on the Raptors show.
Yeah, if only things happened differently.
It's all good, man. Jakob Poeltl, baby.
Yeah, no, I think
elite.
I think you make a good point too. The fact that they have these players under contract, and we've seen in these past situations, like when LeBron was in Miami, like as the years go by and, they have that nucleus there, you're able to just add guys, right? Whether it's like on minimum deals or just bring in and just fill in roles that they need.
Look at like Terrence Ross. Like Terrence Ross would have been a really good buyout candidate for a lot of teams, but he chooses to sign with Phoenix.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think too, like they gave up a lot in that trade, but having even guys like a Campaign or Bismack Biyombo, like guys that you can play in like specific roles, like you're not asking that much of them, but it's not like it's left their roster like completely thin.